Yo, what up, dudes? So real quick, I wanted to hammer this segment or this topic because I got a question, really good question. I've actually been wanting to do a segment on this particular dynamic, and we'll dive into it just a little bit. But you guys know that I spend a lot of time talking, so I'll try not to do as much of that because I don't feel a need to dive into it all too much. Now, again, if you're watching this was one of those things. It's going to be super individual dependent. Okay. So the question is like, the specific question that was asked was, this individual has 5 pitches. He says he thinks he owns 2 of them and he rents 3 of them. Right. So basically 2 of them he feels really comfortable with. 2 of them he's very confident in. He has the ability to throw them where he wants, and hitters show that, those 2 pitches are successful. And the other 3 is the exact opposite, right? He doesn't feel as confident with them. He doesn't feel comfortable throwing them, and hitters hit them pretty well. Okay, so the question was how does he get all 5 to feel confident and to essentially own all 5? So my follow-up question to him was, what is the importance of owning 5 pitches? Why not own 3 pitches? And the follow-up response to that was he throws, 80, say mid 80s, mid to high 80s, and he feels like in order for him to be put in the best possible situation to have success long term is to rely on his ability to mix it up and throw different pitches, different counts, and obviously it's not going to be so much towards velocity. So the reason why I really like this question, I really like this subject and this topic is because I'm one of those individuals that love throwing multiple pitches. So to give you context, in high school, like I prided myself on the ability to throw multiple pitches. So in high school at 18, I threw fastball, 4-seam, 2-seam. I threw curveball, slider. I threw changeup, split. 6 pitches. And honestly, at the time, I felt very comfortable with all 6 of those pitches. I can throw them in any count. I can throw them, whenever I wanted, behind the count, head of the count, doesn't matter. I was fairly confident in all of those. And then as soon as I got to pro ball, the big thing that I took away from pro ball my first couple years, 18, 19 years old, was this idea of like, you have to only have so many pitches. Like you have to have 3 to 4 pitches that you feel super confident and super comfortable in because you only get a limited amount of time to work on those pitches. And it's going to take away the productivity of your other pitches if you're trying to mix in, 5, 6, 7 other pitches. So, which I understand, like, let's be crystal clear with this dynamic is like, I understand the underlying issue of like, okay, you have more pitches, then you need more time to work on those pitches, right? So if you're a 3-pitch guy, you can essentially work on all 3 of those pitches in a bullpen. If you're a 6-pitch guy, you kind of have to be intentional with like, all right, what is the main pitch that I need to work on today? And realistically, it's tough to have multiple weapons that are reliant of, you're able to rely on day in and day out, right? So I see both sides of this kind of conversation, this dynamic, because like I said, I have been one of those individuals that love, the ability to mix it up. And when we talk about what makes a successful pitcher, it's the ability to, have whatever it is that makes like the hitter uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable at bat. The hitter does not like facing you, and a part of that uncomfortable at bat can be your ability to mix it up in different counts and have just multiple pitches because you can't really sit on one of those pitches. Now the negative effect, like I mentioned, is it takes away from your development time with other pitches. So I really do believe that this is age dependent, obviously, because, you get higher up in this game and you get into like pro ball or college, then you start, making sure that, okay, am I checking the boxes in terms of, my development and how can I accomplish my goals? So you really do have to check the ego at the door. This was something that I struggled with growing up because I just, always thought I could throw 6, 7 pitches and they'll always be there. You have to check the ego at the door and kind of come to this understanding of like, all right, what's my lowest hanging fruit? What is the one thing, right? What is the one thing that's going to take me from where I am now to the next level? Okay. And we have to be in, the real world and a realistic approach to how everything works in terms of training and, development, in the understanding that like with certain pitch, with certain pitches, you just need to spend X amount of time, whatever that is, more oftentimes than not, it's a lot of time with that development. Because if you don't spend that X amount of time with that pitch, then it's just not ever going to get the opportunity to develop, right? So does that make sense? So like the way that I look at it is, okay, if you're throwing your flat ground, if you're throwing your bullpen, if you're throwing in catch play, right? Like throwing a baseball or pitching is like the one thing that we want to be better at, but we're limited on the amount of volume that we can be had, especially in today's, industry, because a lot of throwing volume is restricted. So when it comes down to like the development of certain pitches, we're really restricted on the amount of throws that we can have during the day with still feeling good. This is why I put a big importance on like your off-season training and being intentional with that. But it like I said, it comes down to like, what is the lowest hanging fruit that's going to take you to that next level? You have to understand your repertoire, and it's going to go off so for this question, for this example, go off of your two best pitches, right? Your two pitches that you feel most comfortable with. I don't remember what this individual said, but like, so for me, let's just throw something up. Say your two most comfortable pitches are like your fastball and your slider. Okay. So what is the trajectory of those two pitches? One, depending on if it's a four seam or two seam. Say a four seam is going to stay plane, right? And it's going to go straight. Whereas a slider is going to stay plane, late break, glove side, right? So for a lefty, righty would be left. So then it's like, okay, well, instead of thinking I need a change up, curveball, split, knuck, because all of these different movements, like let's be realistic and say, okay, what is that third pitch, and what would that third pitch be? What pitch would that third pitch best be? And for me, looking at it, if you're going to have a fastball that does this action, right? And then you're going to have a pitch with the slider that does this action, right? Glove side. You now need something that does this, right? Because now hitters, righties specifically, are going to be going engaged to right field. They're going to sell out something away unless you have a really good ability to go four seamers in. That changes the whole entire conversation. So if you can throw a changeup, a split, or something of the magnitude that not only checks the box with speed difference, right? So speed differential of your fastball and your slider. It doesn't have to be too far off your slider, just maybe a little bit more off your fastball. And then when you get more advanced, you can think about adding like the curveball that takes even more speed off, right? But for now, in terms of like where a lot of individuals, I believe, development needs to go is just the movement profile and keeping the same tunnel, right? I really do believe a lot of the success we're seeing on TV, guys on TV, Cy Young winners and all this, is just because they're so good at tunneling their pitches. And what I mean by that is everything is the same and the break on these pitches is late, and it's just stuff. It's nasty, right? So now, the reason why I talk about check the ego at the door is because everyone obviously thinks and wants and should feel that they can be comfortable with 5, 6, 7 pitches. We're not all Yu Darvish. We have to live in reality. We have to, we're prideful alpha male athletes, but we still got to step back and be like, okay, what can I realistically develop here? Right? Like how much time do I have to offer, and then how much time do I need to spend on this development? For this guy, and it could just be not necessarily like what is the most beneficial pitch in giving your repertoire, but like what is that third pitch that you do feel most comfortable with, right? Because pitches 4 and 5 could be like, I'm never throwing this in a game, but I just kind of call it in warm-ups to show it, right? But what is pitch 3? That could look totally different. So obviously the ultimate trump card is like the comfortability of that next pitch, because if you're not comfortable with that pitch, then it's going to be a very, very, very steep uphill battle for you. And then you can obviously start thinking about, what of that next pitch would look best with my repertoire or play best with that repertoire. The reason why I say I would always steer towards the side of like simplicity with less pitches, because if you're very, very uncomfortable with pitches 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then you can't just say, okay, today I'm just going to spend all the time in the world on pitches 3, 4, and then tomorrow I'll go 5, 6. Like if you're uncomfortable with the pitch, it's not going to just going to take one day or 10 throws to feel comfortable with it. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take visualization. It's going to take grip practice, all these things, while still maintaining that level of comfort for your 1 and 2. So simplicity is key. Comfort is huge. And understanding what is realistic and checking the ego at the door is extremely, extremely important. While all of this is extremely, individual and age dependent. So with all that being said, keep it simple, be smart, and get outs, right? Get outs. I understand the dynamic of like more is better, but in reality, more can sometimes overcomplicate a lot of different things. Okay. So especially if someone's, a younger guy, say 17, 18, 19 years old, I would always say fastball command, have a secondary pitch you can throw for strikes, not only just throw for strikes, but put it where you want to, has the ability to throw for strikes early in counts, late in counts, get punchies, get swing and misses, and induce weak contact. And, with fastball command being one. And when I say fastball command, I don't just mean down and away, down and in. Fastball command is away, in, elevated, down quadrants, right? And then that third pitch, can you show it? Can you show it to the point where you can show it for a strike? So then the hitter has to respect a third offering. You saw the same thing with Tyler Glasnow this year in 2021. He's gone to a new level because now he's added that slider, which is just a bit difference in speed and movement profile from his curveball. So now you have to respect 3 freaking really good pitches, and he's going to win the Cy Young, in my opinion. What else? There was something else I wanted to say about this. Nope. I can't freaking remember it now. If I can't remember it, that means it wasn't that important, apparently. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully, you can take something from that. Take it for what you will. Be intentional. Be diligent. And just know, like, the biggest thing out of all of this is the time that you're spending, the time spent in your development, while, for guys in season, while still going out there and getting outs, right? This is what I was going to say. So along with, like, so for like the 2 pitches and then adding a third for fastball command being the most important, and a secondary breaking ball you can throw early, late, often induce swing and misses, induce late contact. You also have to remember, like, yes, 5 pitches and 6 pitches is like different pitches, but the ability to throw your fastball to all 4 quadrants, up and away, up and in, down and away, down and away, that's 4 different looks. So one pitch, and the comfort of that one pitch, is 4 different looks for a hitter. And you have effective velocity being 0, in 2, and away is -2. So you have 4 different looks. You have 4 different speeds, essentially, due to effective velocity. Now you add in that breaking ball and the ability to throw that not even to 4 quadrants, but say 2 quadrants, right? Maybe this, and then tunnel it off your fastball. That's a potential 6 different looks for a hitter with just 2 pitches. And you got to look at, like, pitch sequencing and tunneling and all that as looks, right? Now, obviously, there's speed that plays into the account, but, like, there's so much more that goes into it from a hitter standpoint. And for guys, talk to a hitter. Say, hey, what, you stand in the box in my pen, see what you got, right? And be intentional in those pens, man, with, like, your sequencing ability of going, like, okay, I'm going to go fastball, arm side elevated, paired with a slider that's going to go middle, which starts in that tunnel of that fastball arm side elevated, and then do the same thing for your fastball down and away. All right, now I'm going to start that slider in that same tunnel. This is advanced stuff, and it's extremely important to making the hitter uncomfortable, which induces outs. And not a lot of people think about it. People more so think about, like, okay, I have a 4-seam and a slider. I need a curveball, and I need a changeup, and I need a split, and I need a sinker, and I need a 2-seam, and I need a knuckleball. And it's like, dude, what? Like, you have the ability to throw 6 different looks at a hitter with 2 pitches. Think about that. Get to work. See you guys.